fam? It's your boy JP.
And Raisa.
And Sally.
And we got another
For the first time, Dafuk Boom harshly responded to a viewer's question. For the first time, Dafuk Boom harshly responded to a viewer's question, which speaks to his emotional state. This response was verified and it's not fake. In addition, today we'll talk about why episode 80 might not come out at all. You'll learn this and much more in today's video. Don't forget to like. Well, let's begin. Company head Adam personally stated that work on Skibidi Toilet is suspended until the situation is resolved. But the situation won't be resolved. After all, Alexei created an alternative series, Alele, and Human Being, and never once hinted at a possible return. He made a decision and lives with it. If you look closely, you can notice similarities with the beginning of Dafuk Key's path in 2023. First, the first Skibidi episodes came out in shorts format. Second, when Dafuk Boom saw big views, he didn't immediately abandon his other series like Beatbox and America. And only starting with the third season did he begin to focus on Skibidi Toilet. The same can be noticed on his second channel, Door Closer. He does everything similarly. Besides the main series, he continues other videos. As for episode 80, the animator who should be creating the episode has most likely already made several episodes in advance. Technically, episode 80 exists, but the company doesn't release it, and this says a lot. They understand what will happen right after publication, because Skibidi was held not on animation quality, but on one person's authorial thinking. Every hidden detail, every inscription in the background, every hint in the description under the video. This was Alexei. This is what the community followed for 3 years, analyzing every frame, building theories. The animator Strider, who will be replacing Dafuk, knows how to animate, but he doesn't know how to think like Alexei, because this is impossible to copy. Viewers will feel the difference from the first seconds. Views will drop even lower. Negativity will increase, and the company will find itself in a situation where releasing an episode is worse than continuing to stay silent. Therefore, the scenario is quite real, in which episode 80 will never come out. Not because it doesn't exist, but because the company is afraid of its own audience. As for the message, such a response was quite expected. The audience knows about this whole tragic situation, but for some reason continues to ask Dafuk Boom questions about the plot, as if nothing is happening and everything is fine. Yes, perhaps the subscriber didn't know about the situation, or simply doesn't follow the with joy. But this time he answered harshly and without duplicity. With joy, but this time he answered harshly and without duplicity. It must be said that Dafuk has no right to speak negatively about the project, but still, when asked who will win in the fight, he said that his ass will win. Now the company has 3 paths, and all 3 are bad. The first, release episode 80 as is with Strider. The audience will compare it with Alexei's previous episodes. The comparison won't be in favor of the new author, not because Strider is a bad animator, but because he's different. He has a different pace, a different way of placing details, a different understanding of lore. Viewers who have been studying every frame for 3 years looking for hidden scenes will immediately feel that behind the episode, there's no longer that person who hid these scenes intentionally and with meaning. The comments will be devastating. Views will go down, and each subsequent episode will get less and less attention. The second path, negotiate with Alexei, but this means publicly admitting mistakes, revising the contract, and giving back what was taken from him. The company won't do this because it will create a precedent. If they yield to one creator under audience pressure, it will become a signal to all other authors they work with. Corporate logic doesn't allow such concessions, even if economically it would be more profitable. The third path, freeze the project and wait until everything calms down on its own. This is exactly the path they chose, but the problem is that it doesn't work. The community doesn't forget. Every month without episode 80 is another blow to reputation. People go to Alexei, subscribe to Door Closer, follow Human Being and Alele. The Skibidi Toilet audience is melting not because time has passed, but because it has an alternative created by the very person they wanted to return. Now, about Skibidi Toilet as a project. The series was a unique phenomenon for one simple reason. It grew together with the audience. The first episodes were simple, brain rot, without a plot. But Alexei felt the viewer's reaction and gradually complicated the narrative. Characters with history appeared, hidden details, arcs, hints at future events. This was a living dialogue between author and community. Alexei read comments, saw fan theories, and sometimes literally built their ideas into the series. This format of work is impossible to transfer to another person through technical specifications. Strider received a ready-made world, ready-made characters, and most likely some plot plan. But he didn't receive the main thing, an intuitive understanding of how this world breathes. Alexei didn't write scripts in advance for 10 episodes ahead. He felt what needed to be shown in the next episode based on the audience's reaction right now. This is impossible to formalize and transfer. A telling example, Emergence. When Alexei left, the company decided to show viewers a large-scale episode to retain the audience. Everyone saw the result. 1 billion screens, loud special effects, but a complete absence of that very detail and semantic depth that people came for. Emergence gained views because people came out of curiosity, but the reaction was cold because viewers came for Alexei but found a beautiful dump. There's another aspect that's rarely discussed. Skibidi Toilet's lore was held by a system of hints and understatement. Alexei never explained everything directly. The origin of the Skibidi virus, the nature of Astro Toilets, the secret agent's history. All this was shown through background details, through hidden scenes in full episodes, through changes in the environment. This system worked because behind it stood one person with a unified vision. And viewers who have been studying the logic of authorial decisions for 3 years will instantly notice the discrepancy. Trust deserves separate mention. The Skibidi Toilet community lost trust in the company, not because of one decision, but because of a chain of events. First, the conflict with Alexei, then Emergence, then strike attacks on YouTubers, then the channel rebranding to Skibidi with a lowercase letter, then silence in response to the letter from 57 YouTubers. Each of these steps pushed away part of the audience. And now, even if a perfect episode 80 comes out, some people will simply ignore it on principle, because watching means supporting a company that acted dishonestly with a person they respect. The numbers confirm this. Since Alexei's departure, the channel has lost more than 100,000 subscribers. Views on new videos have dropped 60 to 70% compared to Alexei's episodes. Several sponsors refused cooperation. This isn't just fan dissatisfaction. This is economic pressure that the company feels every month. And against all this backdrop, Alexei calmly works on his projects. Human Being continues. Alele Alela is launched. The Door Closer channel is growing. Each new episode from Alexei is another argument in favor of the fact that the future is not with the company, but with him. The audience votes with views, and it votes for Alexei. Skibidi Toilet as a project is dead, not technically, but conceptually. The body is still alive. The channel exists. Strider works. The company receives money from accumulated views. But the soul left with Alexei, and no episode 80 will fix this. Because the problem isn't in the number of episodes, but in the absence of the person for whom they're worth watching. It's worth talking separately about what's happening with the audience itself right now. The people aren't just unsubscribing from the channel. They're actively moving to Alexei's side. The Door Closer channel is growing with each new episode. Human Being has gathered a community around it that discusses details the same way they used to discuss Skibidi Toilet. And this is a fundamentally important point. The audience didn't get tired of Alexei's content. They got tired of the company. The difference is huge. If people had simply burned out from Skibidi Toilet as a phenomenon, then Human Being wouldn't be gaining views either. But it is gaining. Alele Alela gained 500,000 views on the first day. This says that the audience hasn't gone anywhere. It simply moved to where the real author is. The company doesn't understand this or doesn't want to understand. They continue to run the channel as if nothing happened. They publish posts about being glad to return, change the channel name to Skibidi with a lowercase letter, draw banners with TVs, and at the same time, they haven't released any content for more than 6 months. This isn't a strategy. This is confusion, because the company has no answer to the main question, what to do next. Releasing an episode without Alexei is scary. Returning Alexei is impossible for legal and reputational reasons. There's no one to sell the project to. Closing the channel means admitting complete defeat. They're stuck between all these options and can't move in any direction. And time works against them. Every month of silence is several more thousand unsubscribes, several more YouTubers switching